One of the things that you may run into, no matter how good job you've done with selection or fine edge, is you still might see a little bit of a color fringe. In this case, I'm starting with a green screen shot. Now, I did use a function, refine edge, that tries to defringe the color, and this is what it ends up doing to the original. So it just means it's a little better, but I can still see a little bit of green around the edges. And I want to deal with that in a way that's fairly easy. Now, this could be not just shot on a green screen, it could be any situation where you notice, for example, maybe on someone's hair, there's a bit of a reflection of the blue sky or whatever it might be, any kind of color situation. So let's get a little bit closer in here to deal with the problem. And we're going to do it. It's kind of similar to the last thing we just said about matching lighting, but this one very specifically deals with things like this color. See where there's a little bit of greenish tint to the outer edges of her hair and even her shoulder a bit. So the way we do it is this: new layer, pick a brush size that's partially on her hair and partially off. But the real trick to this is we're going to constantly be choosing a color from nearby. So for example, right here where I see green, I want to paint with these colors right here. So I hold down temporarily and keep it held down, Option or Alt, that's going to get me the eyedropper, and now I can paint with that color. And then I pick a different color and paint with that a little bit. And that's really the technique. We just start off finding nearby colors, going over the edge a little bit. What I find really helps sell this effect is constantly be picking up new colors, and then every so often, like in here, it still looks a little greenish. I'm going to pick a color that I know has no real green in it, and I'm going to lower the opacity. I just press 5 for 50%, and all I'm doing is just kind of mixing it up a bit, so there's just a range of different colors. So that's the theory. We go in and just kind of try and pick different colors that look appropriate and kind of match in a little bit. Over here on our arm, we do the same thing. I'm deliberately keeping the opacity a little lower here. And all I'm doing is every so often I'm pausing, holding down Option or Alt to pick up a color, and then painting. So down here, same thing. I might put the opacity back up a little bit for this one because it needs to be covered up just a little more. On her arm, same thing. Let's lower the opacity a bit and mix this up a little bit just so it doesn't look too obvious. Okay. Maybe down here a bit. Alright, that looks pretty good there. This side needs just a bit on here. Now remember, it's going to look a little weird at first because it looks like I'm painting not only her arm but the background because, well, I am, but temporarily. I see a little bit more in there. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. I know you're saying, no it doesn't. It will. So the two tricks to this one is we do the same clipping mask, Option or Alt click between the two layers, so now at least it's only showing inside her hair. And in this case, we change the blend mode to color. And look at the difference. Bit greenish, gone. So this one can be a wonderful technique when you're faced with those situations where it just doesn't look quite right because you're seeing a bit of the wrong kind of color tone around the edges. This is a pretty simple but effective way to fix that issue.